Good evening, everyone. I hope all of you have had a great day so far. Today, we're going to talk about strength. The title is Are You Gentle or Are You Weak? And the reason I ask this question is because there's a big difference between the two. Being gentle is when you have a profound amount of strength and you don't use it. Being weak is when you don't have any strength, so that's your default. What would be an example of this? It would be a renowned fighter, say a boxer, who is capable of doing extreme bodily harm, and they come across someone that is threatening them. And this boxer decides, instead of entertaining it or fighting this person, they decide to just turn the shoulder and just walk in a different direction. That would be gentleness or meekness. Weakness would be if you have someone who is not capable of fighting, who is not capable of defending themselves, not capable of doing any sort of damage. If they were to throw a punch, they would probably hurt themselves more than they would hurt the other person. And when someone threatens them with violence and wants to fight them, instead of fighting them, they decide to run away or just, again, walk like the boxer did. Now, the reason why it's so different is because in the boxer's case, he is more than capable of killing the guy or just even knocking him out, but we'll say killing in this instance because he's a boxer that's a world champion. For the other person who can't do anything, him walking away is the only thing he can do, because him trying to defend himself won't result in any good outcome because he's not strong enough to defend himself. So the boxer has two options to choose from and chooses to walk away, which is meekness or gentleness. The weak person's only option is to walk away, because if he was to take on the fight, then he would just sustain damage. So it's not really two choices in their eyes. It's still two choices, but the most logical choice is leaving, because the second choice would just end up worse than the first one. So then my question to you would be are you like the boxer in this case, or are you like the weak person? Are you able to walk away from situations knowing what you're capable of? Or are you walking away from situations because that's your only option? And if it's your only option, then my advice to you would be to get to a certain level where you can defend yourself, where you're able to do some sort of damage. Not to showboat or not to look for fights, but in a way that you can carry yourself knowing that you can handle the situation if needed, but you also have the brains to know that it's not worth it either. It should be a last resort to use that strength. When you walking away just ends up having that person keep pursuing for violence, then in this instance it would be just to use that violence back to them, because you've already tried to use the option of leaving and you've exhausted it because this person keeps trying. But in a weak person scenario, if they keep running, then what can they do when the attacker just keeps pursuing them? It just ends up in a worse scenario than when they left. So I think as a man, any man should be able to defend himself and those around him to a standard that people know he's capable of doing it, so that they don't have to fear what will happen. And they also respect you more as well. When you're able to handle scenarios like this, you will feel better as well when you are confident in the fact that regardless of what comes your way, you can handle it. Now, it doesn't mean you have to come at everyone. In fact, that just shows you don't have mental strength either. But when you start strengthening your body physically, you also end up developing the mind, because the two are together. You can have a strong body, but if you don't have a strong mind to back it up, it's useless in my opinion. And vice versa, you can have a strong mind, but if you don't have a strong body to back it up, I also think it's useless. Now, there are obviously scenarios where one might not have the strength physically, like disabilities, but that's an exception. I'm talking about your everyday man. So I would reflect and I would ask you yourself, when you click off this video, am I someone who is capable of walking away from scenarios knowing that I can handle it, but it's not worth my time and effort because there's better things to do? Or are you always walking away from things because that's the only option you have? And if it's the only option you have, then I would say get stronger, because people can sense the confidence you have and the self-respect you have for yourself. And they will begin to show you that, because when you respect yourself, other people will show that same respect to you. But if you don't have that self-respect, you can't fake it, and people will see it. So strengthen yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, and keep being persistent in growing. And be that person that, regardless of what happens, you are able to stand there knowing that you can not only defend yourself, but you can also defend others if needed. Not someone who walks away because that's the only option they have, but someone who can stand up for everyone. So just reflect on what I've said and really think if you're like the boxer or if you're like the weak person.